Hey now. Another day in basketball paradise here. Beautiful. Well, I'm not actually there, but in College Station, I guess. It would have been a nice day to play some basketball here, though. 62 in, central Alabama. Lower Alabama, some might say. I don't know. That's really Mobile, isn't it? What up, guys? Gals? Folks? Yeah, kind of a disappointing afternoon, huh? I guess, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you talk about that one. I mean, they had a really bad, final 4 minutes of the first half. Horrendous. I thought for the most part in the second half, they were getting themselves back together. And, boy, the last 10 minutes of the second half, they were pushing it hard. And damn near got it. Let's go ahead and slide over to the box score side of things. Yes, there is one right there. Texas A&M wins this game 68-66 in a game that really was kind of a tale of two halves. And there were a lot of things going on in this one that I found very odd. In the game the other night against Arkansas, Jamal was huge. And you're kind of thinking to yourself, Jamal Johnson is going to be like the catalyst. Okay, once in a while he's going to come up big or whatever. He came up huge again today. Finished with, 20 points, maybe all but 3 of those in the second half. And played a huge role today. 20 points on 6 of 16 shooting. That's kind of an Allen Iverson night, isn't it? 5 of 14 from 3, including missing one there super late. I thought he had a chance to draw a foul on that very last shot, but you're asking a lot there. And it looks like he leads the way for the team, plus-minus of +10. Word. Well, yeah, let me catch up on the Super Chat super quick here, though, because Chip jumped in earlier. My main man says, ready for an OC or DC hire? I bet you're not alone on that one, big man. Let me give you a DJ air horn for that one, my man. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you coming in hot from Mobile. And then AU Taxman also has one. My man says this one's for Hooter 80. Hooter was one of a fairly small group of people that are upset about the brain drain's mere existence. They think it's not fair that sometimes I discuss content or whatever on the show here instead of writing it out in written form on the bunker, which I always plan to do, but in some cases, it's just better to go real time here. So, I don't know. Whatever. We'll just have to deal with that. I don't know. Thank you, AU Taxman. So, you've got to say, Auburn, in the Arkansas game, fought really hard start to finish. I think that game was messed up by turnovers, which this game was headed down that same road. But really, Auburn really dialed it back with the turnover problems in the second half. Let me see if I can find. There were some numbers that kind of blew me away. As far as, let's see the stat number. This is the one that kind of got me. Oh, hold on now. First half box, they had 38 possessions, which is a little bit low, but whatever, because Texas A&M was trying to slow down the pace. Auburn scored on approximately 30% of its possessions in the first half, which is bad. Turnovers on 35% of a possession. So you keep doing that, you're going to get blown out. Second half, they get 33 possessions. Again, very slow. Auburn would prefer to have 40 or more in each half. But their scoring percentage went up from what we say 23% to 52%. Their turnover percentage went from 35% to 15%. So they, you know what I mean? Like BP sat them down at halftime and said, we're going to stop turning the ball over. And we're going to be smarter about taking shots. None of this stuff like Al was doing in the first half, just silly threes. And he did not have a good day shooting threes. But I thought Auburn's offense was more methodical, more thoughtful in the second half. And, again, turnovers got shut way down. In the second half, only 5 turnovers on 33 possessions. Versus in the first half, it was 13 turnovers and 38 possessions. So huge difference there. And that's something you want to see. That's something you really want to see because that's taking a step. That's getting beat by a particular problem in the Arkansas game and then starting to have it happen again here on the road with a very young team, saying we got to stop that. And they did. Did somebody in the bunker, I'm sorry, not bunker, someone in the chat say that Justin Powell sucked or something? Come on, man. For reals. Blackhawk Driver's asking if JP's okay. I don't have any up to the minute information on that. We'll definitely be checking back on it today because JP had one shift in the second half, and then he didn't come back, and I didn't see him on the sideline. I don't know if you guys did either. So I don't know if he got hurt. It wasn't like, he blew his knee out and everybody saw it. Whatever it is, I don't know. Single TW says old Justin Powell sliding into irrelevance. Okay, that's what it was. AU Storm 20 says JP is not irrelevant. Seriously, yeah, agreed. Definitely not irrelevant. Didn't have a great game. 2 points and 0 of 5 shooting. 4 rebounds. He always finds a way to get some rebounds, which is a nice knack for a point guard to have. 2 assists and 1 turnover. I mean, that's not awful. I think he had 9 assists and 7 turnovers the other night. But again, only 1 shift in the second half, and I think that's reason for concern, just to kind of know, what's going on with him. Maybe he just wasn't feeling well today. There's a variety of possibilities. Tucker P says, "What's up, Mr. J? What up, bro? Appreciate you being on the show. All you guys, really." Bourbon Bowl says he thinks that BP did a hell of a job coaching today. He certainly was into it, wasn't he? Whew. Man, second chance points about even. Auburn 2 points ahead there. Points off turnovers 18-17, so that's better than it was the other night against Arkansas. Bench about even. Fast break points even. This is a very even game. And to me, it's kind of eye-opening because I don't think of A&M as a particularly good ball club, but you're taking a very young team down on the road to A&M, and you almost pull it out. They played really well, and I think they found rhythm with a particular lineup there, which would have been Flanagan at point, Jamal playing 2, Devin playing 3, Jalen playing 4, and Thor playing kind of a de facto 5 or stretch 4, however you want to look at it. And that fivesome, I think they went the last 3 shifts consecutively. So that, I think BP, in a way, he just kind of goes with the hot hands, and that group was playing well together, and that was the group that kind of sparked that run late. Statistical anomalies that kind of got me, though. 0 free throws attempted in the second half for Auburn. I mean, they were jump shooting for the most part. They were either jump shooting or they were in transition, but BP's not going to be good with that. I know they're not good free throw shooters, but they were 7 of 9 in the first half, which I think I don't have a good way to explain why Auburn's free throw shooting's been so shitty. They're going to be fine. I think they'll get back to the norm and end up shooting 73% or something like that in time. 72%. I think they're at 61 right now, but 0 free throws attempted in the second half, and hell, I mean A&M only attempted 2. It's kind of a weird one. It's a weird one out there. What's up, Ravine is in the house. Scott C in the house. He said, didn't Pearl used to wear suits at games? He did, yeah, generally. I haven't seen much of that this year. I don't know. I have to ask him about that next time we have a chance. That's a great point, Scott. Good eye. Chip says he thinks he needs to ride on some voodoo wings after the drain. Oh, man, that sounds delicious. We are going to be doing a show down there at the Mobile location sometime in the month of January. We got to get that done. So we're going to do that. AU Texman says RIP Paul Westphal, who is a Hall of Fame basketball player. We also, folks of my age, know him as a NBA coach. Passed away, I think, at the age of 70. It was weird to kind of see him. He's a Hall of Famer, and he was a 5-time All-Star. I think he was a 2-time All-NBA. It doesn't seem like these days that would be like, I don't know, who's a 5-time All-Star? Like Hassan Whiteside or somebody like, I don't know, Chauncey Billups or something like that. I don't know. Kind of weird. AU Storm says the SEC used to require suits, but not this year. Just knowing BP, he's not a suit kind of guy. I mean, I'll do it if they got to, but he's a lot more comfortable, in like sweats and, like a golf shirt or whatever. It's kind of what I see him coaching in all the time. Moving over to our more traditional pain here. Auburn now 6-4 after this 2-point loss. Again, not alarming. Not alarming. I mean, Arkansas is a better basketball team. I don't think A&M's a better basketball team, but I think Auburn got itself in too big of a hole. Canoe Man is listening to BP on the radio, says Powell had a head injury and will be evaluated when getting back in Auburn. Maybe he just got concussed. I didn't see it happen. Did any of you guys see it happen? I mean, I was looking for it. Ruxy says Billups, Chauncey Billups, the former Colorado Buffalo, I might add. Favorite point guard until Ice Trey. Dang, I hate to hear that about BP. I hope he's going to be all right. I'm sure he will. It's just how long. And beginning now, I am going to be on Sharif watch. I feel like it's getting to be that time. Canoe Man apologizes for breaking that in the drain and not writing a story about it first and posting onto the bunker while we're doing our show. Thank you, bro. Super chat coming through from Crocosile. Says Powell got a concussion at the end of the first. Refs let it get out of hand. I just missed that somehow. I didn't see it. Appreciate it, Crocosile. You're the man. Segue alert. Synced LTW says basketball team is too concerned about what Tank may or may not do. Shh. We can't speculate on Tank. We'll get in trouble, guys. AU Storm thinks that JP got hit at the end of the first half. Interesting. I somehow missed that. Matt Ann says he didn't realize that Buzz Williams was kind of a clown dancing around the sidelines after a bucket. He's very animated. But there's a lot of people around the league who feel that way about BP, so I don't know. Might not be a great idea to rag on him too much for that. One man's opinion. Also, some notes that I wrote down as we were going through the game, just things that were popping in my head, and then you can kind of see how things were changing. But in the first half, the reversals – hey, thanks a lot, Crocky Poo. You're the man. In the first half, the reversals are really slow. It seemed like they were hedging all the screens. Essentially, they were trying to pressure the hell out of JP and Flanagan up top. Now, I feel like Flanagan handles it better getting away from the pressure. I don't necessarily think he handles it better once he gets to the rim because he just gets his eyes get too big and he's like, I'm going, you know what I mean? And it's like there's three guys in front of him. And he's like, I'm going over all of them. Nacho Hombre jumps in with a super chat. Yo, here's my money so I can get my question answered. I love that you guys are doing this. I don't have a question today. Just happy to support the drain. Appreciate you, Nacho. And I love the humor about it. Outstanding, bro. Outstanding. Okay, so the reversals are really slow. The pressure up top, and they were kind of walking it out a little bit deeper than normal, although it wasn't any deeper than Arkansas was doing. But anyway, you're gonna have to. This is gonna be happening all year until somebody, if Sharif gets in there and he's a much better ball handler, which I think he will be, it'll change that paradigm a little bit. But a little bit pressure high, and I thought the ball reversal was slow. So basically, they were pressuring the ball, and then they were just slow getting them out. So if you get two guys on you like that, and they were doing it right at the hashes, that's where they wanted Auburn to go because Auburn runs a lot of its sets from the hashes. Double team that. If Auburn can pass out quickly and move it around quickly, there's generally going to be somebody open or at least in an advantageous position. Auburn's passes were just really slow to get out and get moving in the first half. The second half, as they were making that run, particularly around the 10-minute mark and then deeper in, the passes were really quick. And another thing that I thought was really cool is Jamal's off-the-ball movement on the scoring end was really good. He's the guy that I really noticed the most, getting himself into open position on the scoring end. He has – I mean, I don't think he's the most intuitive player alive, but I feel like away from the ball, he kind of knows how to position himself. He knows BP gives him the freedom to kind of find soft spots and get there, and they're doing a better job of finding him. I don't necessarily think he's the sharpshooter that we all kind of – it's like they're almost setting up for him to be a sharpshooter, and I don't really think he's that guy. But shoot, I guess when these are the choices you've got, you know, Cardwell's been kind of not been very good this year shooting the three. It's down to JP and him and Jamal for the most part. Oric wants to know how you post pictures here. I don't know as though we can do that, brother. That's a YouTube question. How do you post video here? I don't know. There was so much pressure on the point guards up there. They were kind of like they were almost playing like almost a zone up top in a way. So as soon as they would set up a ball screen, they had somebody ready to just hedge that screen really fast. And it was just kind of messing things up. You could see JP in the first half kind of pointing to it and just getting frustrated with it. Again, as I mentioned, the tempo picked up after halftime. You know, Texas A&M wants to go slow. They want to pressure the ball to kind of muck it up. Auburn's passing got quicker. There was better tempo with the passing in the second half, and I think that's a big reason why they were much more efficient on the scoring end. For sure. Powell, obviously out for the second half. He finishes 0 for 5 from the floor, but you know normally he's a really good shooter, so you'd think had he been able to play, would have been able to shoot his way out of that. A&M got their lead up to 14 points in the second half, at which point I was like, I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens on this one. But Auburn kind of dug their way back into it, cut it down to 3 at the 6:30 mark, had it down to 2, I think, around 3-minute mark. And, boy, they were really giving them hell late. I guess it was tied there super late. And Texas A&M kind of took advantage of Allen getting up in the air a little bit and finished it off there with about a second to go. I mean, great play by them. Let's see anything else. 1 of 13 from 3 in the first half. They ended up going 10 of 20 in the second half, though they missed their last 2, but that's a big difference. And it was also interesting to me as time was winding down. This was not A&M's last possession, but the next to last possession. Auburn was in a 1-3-1, which I would never, ever, 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 ever think a BP team would be going to zone in a clutch possession late in the game. That's just not. That's something that they've just been kind of experimenting with the last couple of years. I mean, they used to not play any zone. And now they played probably 15 possessions of zone against Arkansas. And then tonight it wasn't quite 15, but again, in the clutch they did. In that particular possession, somebody, I think it was Cambridge, got a deflection. They ended up getting it down to, I think it was Thor, who put it in for a bucket. It was a big, I thought that was going to be the change in the game, that Auburn was going to end up finishing it off. But it's cool to see them zoning a little bit when they need to. I think Coach Pruitt is big on the zone. I think he's the zone specialist for them. Stu Pup jumps in with a super chat. Unbelievable, man. The streak stays alive. Says Buzz Williams is a tool. Talking about the A&M coach who is very animated. I mean, BP's animated, but Buzz kind of comes off as like a cartoon character, whereas BP just seems like a spazzy guy. I don't know. Just personal preference, I guess, on that one. Appreciate this the super chat, brother, man. Unbelievable support you offer. Oh, so we're talking halves, I guess? If we're going grading the halves, first half probably, what, D-ish? Maybe a C-. I thought the defensive intensity was there. It was just offensively, the pressure up high was just mucking it all up, and their shooting was bad, and they were off their timing, and they weren't getting the ball where it needed to go on time, and they were panicky, and they had those possessions where they didn't even get a shot off. I think they had 3 of those in the first half, which is no bueno, man. That is not acceptable. Second half, again, ball movement really picked up. The passing tempo picked up, and again, I can't compliment Jamal enough for moving well on the attacking end without the ball. It's something that just I don't think it comes easily to younger players, because they spend so much time when they're playing AAU and high school ball. They're on the ball. They're the best players on their team. They might be the best players in their league. They're so used to being on the ball that they don't necessarily play off the ball very much. And it takes a little while to kind of start thinking that way. I think that's part of why you're seeing Flanagan play some point guard, and you saw this the first 3 or 4 shifts of this game in the first half, where JP was kind of playing 2 and Al was playing 1, kind of getting JP to have to think like that a little bit, because I think they anticipate Sharif being the point guard at some point very soon, at which point JP is going to be kind of a backup combo, but they're going to need him to be good in space and get open in space and hit those threes that he can really do. I think that they're kind of getting him ready to get him thinking like that. It's something Jamal's good at. Let's see. We got super chat coming in from Bimpy. My man, this is Ward M. Eagle. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the support. Ravine says, what's the bourbon of the day? Actually, I'm taking the day off from drinking. I need to dry out, brother. I had a long one last night. Obviously, we went 7+ hours. A lot of you guys were there, and appreciate your support. And the night before that, I've been drinking as well. So I'm just we're just going to dry it out just a little bit here. I don't know if you guys saw this in the bunker, but we're talking about doing a flight night at the tipping point here in Montgomery. I was thinking 20, 25 folks, and we just have 4 good bourbons, and we just flight it up and hit it, man. Just have fun and drink a little bit. There's been some concerns on the bunker, that's a super spreader event or whatever. But I mean, I checked with Justin, who runs the tipping point, and they've got a number of patrons that they can host safely, according to the health department. So I mean, I'm not pushing anything crazy. If you guys are interested, definitely jump in that thread. Let me know, because I'm trying to judge if it's something we want to do or we don't want to do, whatever. Okay, Bob wants to talk about football a little bit. When do you expect coordinator announcement, JG, and what you drinking? I'm not drinking anything today. So it sounds like Kellen Moore, who is the Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator, we thought that he was probably the front runner for that Boise State job. And he apparently is kind of back out of that, like not really wanting to be considered for that. So that means that Andy Avalos, who is the defensive coordinator at Oregon, at least in my opinion, becomes the number one choice for Boise unless they have something up their sleeve. Now, I'm obviously not a Boise expert. I think that Avalos would be the choice if he's available. If he's not available, I think they're going to be looking at Gerald Alexander from the Miami Dolphins, who is a defensive backs coach there, but he also coached at Cal before that. And I think a lot of the smart football people that I know out there think a lot of him. Yeah, I still think that's kind of on track. It's one of those two guys. As far as offensive coordinator, that one gets me a little bit. I think they're looking at more people. I think there's about 4 guys they're taking a look at there. And I think Jeff Lebby from Ole Miss is one. I think Bush Hardman from Missouri is one of them. I think the guy at Minnesota is one of them. And I think the guy at Arizona State is one of them. I don't know which one of those ends up getting the gig or if there's somebody else. Daniel P., thank you for correcting us. As Harsin said in his press conference, it's not Boise, it's Boise. Boise with an S. Stupep jumps in with another super chat. Unbelievable. He says, I'm buying you expensive bourbon $2 at a time. Chip says, Bunker fight night in. Oh, wait, flight. Yeah, we can do both, bro. Stefan wants to know, what if we move Travis Williams to D.C.? Interesting. I don't see that happening, but I would be in favor of that. Ruxy wants to know if Harsin calls plays. He has in the past. He's been doing it for a long time. Don't know if he's going to change. I mean, he certainly is welcome to. Gerald is the football Kendrick Perkins with that beard. He does kind of have he has a big beard. He's a fearsome looking dude. I mean, I hope he and I would never get into it personally because he'd probably kill me. Crocodile says he's done both. I mean, Harsin. Yeah, I would rather ask him specifically about what he's planning to do at Auburn because he's done it different ways. Most recently, he was calling plays. Daniel P. wants to know if I'm bringing the Creed wall. I generally do. It's upstairs in the attic. We do have a Creed wall that we have brought, and I threatened to fight Tiger, although Tiger would have killed me in front of it. But and I think Russ 47 tried to start a fight with me in front of the Creed wall as well. But yeah, there you go. That's the football chatter for today. I do think some stuff's going to go down. It's Saturday, 5 o'clock right now. I would be shocked if Auburn didn't have somebody hired by midday Monday. Hey, that kind of rhymes. Midday Monday. That's when I think stuff's going to have to go down. I mean, he needs to get on this. I mean, he knows that, but he was definitely waiting until the bowl game was over, and now he's just got to. I think he's waiting a little bit on the Boise State search because that's going to affect some of his choices. And I mentioned on the show last night, I still think that Travis Williams, Al Pogue, Larry Porter, those 3 in particular, I think have the best chance to stay among the people on the staff. And I think everybody else, I don't anticipate anybody else staying. I mean, I could be wrong. I know there was some consternation on the bunker about the possibility of Carnell not being retained. But again, and it's nothing against Carnell. I just think his level of experience, maybe for folks who don't know him, who haven't worked with him for a long time, maybe that would be a little bit of a turnoff. I don't know. I'm just thinking that would be a turnoff. All right, basketball. What am I also want to look at? We want to look at the, I got it over here, the Ken Palm a little bit. You can just kind of get a feel for, get back over here, bad boy. This is basically the same as the schedule you see on the left side, but this gives you a better idea of kind of the quality of the opponents. So Auburn's best win this season has been Memphis, which I thought was a good win. Beating Texas Southern and Troy and App State, whatever. So Arkansas was a really good team, and I think they're going to be moving up. They're 38 right now, but I think they'll end up being in the 15 to 25 range at the season's end. I think they've got a lot of ability and experience. I don't know about A&M. I think they're probably not great, but again, not a horrible loss. The thing is that Auburn's got some better teams coming up. Ole Miss is pretty good, and Alabama's generally pretty good, although they're a little schizophrenic. And then Georgia and Kentucky's been terrible. and then Arkansas again. So it's like, I don't know. It's going to be a tough go of it, guys. I mean, they needed this one today, and I think that's why you saw BP fighting so hard. I mean, he was really fired up today because he knew this is going to be a big one. Stoop Up notes that Ken Palm was mighty close on that score prediction today, 68-67. That was the prediction, and it ends up being 68-66. It's pretty damn close. Pretty damn close. Ben H. says that Bruce said Powell hit his head. Yeah, I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. I'll try to get some more information and post that on the bunker a little bit later tonight to check in with some of our folks. Speaking of weird things going on in college football, what about Tom Herman getting run after they played really well in their bowl game, which is, I guess you would say, is kind of a wolf move, right? And then they got Sarkisian locked in today. How about that, huh? I think I'd explain some things about what Sarkisian was doing because, Auburn was kind of pushing to talk to him, and he was like, eh. And then Tennessee was trying to talk to him a little bit, I think, off the record, and it was like, eh. He probably had a feeling Texas was going to open. How about that, huh? It's fun to watch all that go around, up and down. You never know what's going to happen. All right. We're going to go back over to the box score pane. Where did you go, box score? Oh, my gosh. That was not well done. Yeah, that's a tough one to lose. That's just one that I felt like Auburn had, They had come back. They had done everything right. Just thought they were going to get out of there with a 2 or 3 point win. But then again, they're going to have some tough ones coming up. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone line if you guys want to talk about it a little bit, what this means going forward. These are a little bit different than our football drainers because, the basketball hardcore people. I mean, we love you guys. That's kind of I feel like those are my people. Ken Palm, Stoop Up notes that Ken Palm's only given Auburn 3 wins this year. Yeah, 3 conference wins. You're right. I think it's going to be a kind of a rough go of it, but it's hard. And I think the Ken Palm algorithm can't reliably predict how teams improve and at what rate. You know what I mean? We've got AU Storm 20 calling in. What's up, brother?
What's up, JG? How you doing, my man?
Word. It's awesome to have you on again. Second straight day.
Yeah, man. A little fired up after that one today. Just some of the people overreacting throughout the game is just typical Auburn basketball fans that storm in after a bowl game. So it's just funny to watch.
You talk about people in the bunker and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, first half stuff, and people just don't understand that a basketball game is 2 halves, right? Basically split up into different halves throughout the game as well in the first and second half when you had the 4-minute timeouts throughout the game. And, people in the first half freaking out a little bit, and rightfully so with the turnovers and the pressure, and just people don't understand that we do not have a true point guard. We literally do not have a true point guard. Alan Flanagan played 18 minutes in the second half at point guard. He's never played it in his entire career, even in high school. So the fact that we lost that game today, and we could have won that game, is a true testament to how this team fights and how this team plays together, and also just how Bruce coaches. Because they literally were not running a single set play, it looked like, in the second half, besides, getting the ball back up to the top to Flanagan and trying to run a screen and roll at the top with him and Jalen Williams. And that was opening up some driving lanes, which opened up Jamal. And like you mentioned earlier, the way that he was moving without the ball was key in what I think helped change and spark that run in the second half. And that's honestly, look, we don't have a lot of leadership on the team, right? I mean, we have so many freshmen and sophomores, but his play on the court is a testament to his leadership. He may not be vocal, and he may not be, one to go out there and yell and to pump the team up, but the fact that he's probably maybe one of our smartest players. I know that hurts me to say that because I didn't think that was the case last year, but the ability and his experience to move without the ball, I think helped turn that game around.
Yeah. Really smart game from him.
Yeah. And that's going to have to be the case all year. I mean, if he doesn't shoot well and, teams are pressuring us up top, well, we can't get the ball down to the post, and we don't have a lot of basket players. But that's going to be the key in almost every game is, can we get open shots? Can he move throughout the ball? And can we get the ball off of a high pick and roll? Because Flanagan was getting flanked to go to his right, and I don't think he's comfortable going to his right. And that kind of slows some things down on the offensive end in the half court. I thought when the game started picking up is when we started to press the ball out of bounds a little bit on a basket, or once we got a rebound or a block shot. I think that kind of opened some things up, and I think that's where we struggled a little bit in the first half tonight. Was at the beginning of the game, looks like we had a little bit of a game plan to get him at the top left with a pick and roll, and they were really pressuring up top and hedging those screens, and just didn't look like we were comfortable enough to handle the ball. And I think that's where we saw a lot of the turnovers come from. And look, people get frustrated about the turnovers, but we don't have anybody that can handle the rock on a consistent basis. And these guys are playing elite SEC defenders that they've never faced before, and they're playing out of position. And I think that's why people, like the guy that said earlier, Justin Powell is irrelevant. Like, give me a break, dude. This guy, Justin Powell, yeah, he might have gotten a little lucky at the beginning because nobody had film on him, but he's trying to play point guard in the SEC when he's a shooting guard. I mean, give the guy a break. He's trying to figure things out, and he's trying to do a lot, and he's getting called to do a lot as a freshman. So give him time. People who thought that he was going to be a first-round pick after the Troy game, I was like, come on, guys. Like, he's young. He's going to have a lot of growing pains. This whole team's going to have a lot of growing pains. We might lose we might be 0-5 in the SEC coming up here soon. But the Bruce Revenge Tour is going to start at the end of this year. And it's going to start with Buzz Williams dancing on the sidelines. Like, that made me so mad.
That's kind of clowny, yeah.
The Revenge Tour will be hot on the trains next year.
I know we got a question. Bob wants to know where are we going to get another point guard, and the answer is it's Sharif Cooper. I mean, I mean, he's going to be the guy that you want right there. He's going to be really good. They just got to get him out there. And
I don't think even having Turbo on the team would help, and it's not going to help. I mean, obviously you saw with the coaching staff, saw in him. If he played tonight, we would have 4 more turnovers. And if he would have fit and developed more as a point guard, then we may not have had that problem. But there's a reason why he's transferring. There's a reason why he didn't play, and that just kind of happened, and we are where we are. And it's nothing against him or it's nothing against the guys that are playing now, but it is where we are right now. And all these next year, once this team grows up a little bit, once this team starts playing more position basketball, then this will all go away and we'll all forget about it and all be rectified. But the people who are complaining about Jalen Williams, the people who are complaining about Justin Powell, these guys are trying to do a lot in a position where they're not comfortable in. They never played like that. They're playing against guys that are bigger. They still are young. I see a lot of potential in it, and we just got to be patient. And I want to win as much as everybody else does, but we just got to be patient and take our bumps and look for progress each game.
Look for progress each game. I thought the second half today was their best half of the conference season, and they were applying lessons learned, I thought. They stopped the turnovers. They were playing better basketball. You mentioned talking about Jamal earlier, moving without the ball. He had a great half. They were passing the ball quicker. The defense was better. They were good in transition. They were getting their hands on balls. Like they were playing better basketball, and that's all you really want to see at this point.
Yeah, and I thought too, my biggest criticism of the year so far has been Devin Cambridge, and I think a lot of expectations was put on him, and I don't think they really warranted because, yeah, we saw him go off, and I know we've talked about this in the past, but he's streaky, right? I mean, he could go one game and have 31, the next game have 0. And I think he thought that the expectation on him this year was to be a more complete player, and that's just not what he is right now. And I think something might have happened today that the lights came on and he started to maybe figure out his role a little bit because he was causing some hell in the second half on the defensive end, which he hasn't really all year. And, not taking dumb shots, maybe a lights clicked and he's hopefully has found his role. I really don't know what his role is or what he can do well besides spot shooting. But even then, I mean, it's so streaky.
Yeah.
But he tries to do a little too much when he drives. But if he could be a good defender on the defensive end, fast break, finish at the rim, and make some timely shots, I mean, that's a great role for him. And hopefully he can grow into that and grow into a better player. But at the beginning of this year, he tried too hard, too much.
Yeah, they need him. He's still an animated defender. So, I mean, BP likes that. I think that's why you see him continue to rack up minutes because he's playing hard. It's just, I know what you're saying. I thought he would be a little more complete on the scoring end. And he would just kind of, even it out a little bit where maybe he wasn't, because last year he was like an A shooter maybe every third game. And the rest of it, he was like a C shooter. You were thinking maybe just B every game. But he hasn't been that. But he still has value.
Yeah. Well, and his value last year was we had guys like Javon and Samir that can get past the first defender, draw his guy off, and kick it to him for that corner three. That's where he made a living. We don't really have that guy this year. So his open shots in the corner are a little more contested. He's trying a little too hard to get those, same looks, and it's not really working out for him. So maybe he can kind of adjust and if we get Sharice back, maybe that, Sharice not maybe going to be the cure for all problems, but hopefully he can be the cure for some of it. And look, maybe if we had him tonight, we'd win because we could have someone that causes a little less turnovers and slows the game down when we needed it to. But I think people need to kind of table those expectations a little bit. Hopefully if Sharice comes back.
Yeah. I agree. I'll go on a rant about that again, AU Storm. Just don't put the Superman. You're not guilty of this, but some people are. They're going to put the Superman cape on him, and he's still got to dig out a little bit. It's going to take him a little while. All right, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, man. Keep doing what you're doing, and love the drain.
All right. See you, AU Storm.
See you.
Peace. There he is. Great caller, man. Great caller. And one of the great things about him is that he can do basketball and football. He could talk about it intelligently. Ass Man says Bruce Pearl coaches Auburn? Question mark? Yeah, I believe so. Bob is upset. He says, shouldn't we have 2 point guards on the roster? So, well, they have one for sure in Sharif. And then I think the plan all along was that JP, well, the plan was that Turbo was going to be better. So that would have been the second. And then the plan also was JP was going to be a combo, which he's like he's damn good combo, I think, coming out of the box, right away, being as young as he is. He hasn't been great these last couple of games, that's for sure, but he's had some big games earlier in the season, and he helped them get a couple of those wins by himself because he was so hot. He had a couple 20-point games early on, so, I mean, it's not like this guy's a mess. He's good at what he does. Wonder if we can get in with B-Matt on this one. We'll take a look and see if B-Matt. I don't know if he's on the Zoom right now. I am Ron Burgundy. Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Oh.
What's up, B-Matt?
Just writing up a little story about Jamal Johnson.
Yeah, he had himself a game, didn't he?
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, he'd never scored 20 points in his career. He's had 21 and 20 the first two SEC games this year. So he has really stepped up his play and his, scoring, but he's doing a lot of other little things that are allowing him to get those minutes, playing much better defensively and also, making some plays, where he can fake and drive and do some other things other than just being a straight up 3-point shooter.
Did you have a chance on the Zoom? Did you have a chance to talk to him, or who did you guys get after the game?
We got JT Thor, who I thought also had a really good game. I think he had 10 points and 5 rebounds, if I'm not mistaken. I thought he was really active, late. I think it was Jalen Williams actually had that steal late, but JT sort of grabbed that ball and got that dunk and, put Auburn in position there. And then, A&M came down and made that really nice bucket there at the end to win it.
Yeah.
But I thought you sort of see him getting better as he gains experience. And, with guys like him and Cardwell and these young guys, they're going to continue to get better as they get more experience and play against these really good SEC opponents.
Do you think Jamal, are we seeing him kind of coming into his own as a player, or do you think he's just kind of on a hot streak right now? Because you remember last year he had some games where he was good, and, man, pretty much the whole conference season he was just flatline. I wonder if you think he can kind of keep this up to some degree for the next, let's say, 10 games or so.
I think he can. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to average 20 points in SEC play, but I think this goes back to, what Pearl was saying before the season and what we've written about is like he's the most improved player. Him and his dad spent a lot of extra time in the gym during the pandemic when they were away from Auburn, just working on different things. He worked really hard on his defense because I think that was the main thing keeping him, from getting any extended minutes. And he's just become more of a leader, I think, on and off the floor, and just a guy that's more dependable. His all-around game has improved. And, I think this is going to continue for him. Maybe not at this pace, but I think he's going to be Auburn's sixth man. And, if he's asked to, I think he's capable of starting.
What were the big takeaways from BP's postgame? I mean, what was he kind of talking about?
I think he was more talking about how proud he was as a team, and that comeback. And I agree with him. I mean, this is a young team. They get down 14 on the road.
Yeah.
A lot of teams, and without Justin Powell most of the second half. I know he hasn't played really well the first couple of games, but he's been Auburn's best player for most of this season. And they managed to rally and nearly win the game when they had no business doing it, really. And so he mostly talked about the character they showed in that comeback. And obviously he was disappointed early on with the turnovers and the poor shooting. But I think he was really happy with the fight he saw. And, I think that's a good sign for this team. I mean, I know they're 0-2, but they could reel off 2 or more straight wins here coming up. I just think this is going to be a fun team to watch, and I would never count them out.
Yeah, these next games coming up, they're going to be tough. I mean, Ole Miss has been a problem for them here in the last few years and going to be playing over there on the 6th. And then Alabama has been a little bit schizophrenic, but they're probably a more talented team than Auburn right now, a more experienced team than Auburn right now. So I don't know. It's going to be a rough go of it here. Yeah,
and then at Georgia, and then Kentucky at home, and then at Arkansas. I mean, and then at South Carolina. I don't know how good South Carolina is, but I know 100% they're going to play really hard-nosed defense. I mean, and then you got Missouri at home, and that's a Missouri team that just beat Tennessee on the road, I believe, which most people are saying Tennessee's the best team in this conference. So, it's going to be a tough stretch.
Yeah, Missouri's good. They're coming along nicely. So, AU Storm 20, we had him in on just a few minutes ago, and he was talking about how it's going to be the BP Reclamation Tour next year. That all these beatdowns he's taking right now, he's going to be coming back strong next year. So I guess it's just a matter of hanging in there and trying to develop this team as best you can and getting ready for next year.
I think Jalen Williams, he needs to do a better job staying out of early foul trouble. That hurt him again in this game. Was not able to impact it as much as he's capable of. They need to get Sharif in there, right? So Allen and Justin Powell can play their more natural positions and just be the backup point guard when needed. And you do those couple of things, and this team is going to start taking off, right? I mean, this team is pretty good right now, but they're really good. You put Sharif at the point guard.
And I think I'm putting myself on Sharif watch right now because I think the plan for a little while has been that the NCAA would probably be able to clear him or would clear him coming up. Maybe the Ole Miss game, maybe the Alabama game, somewhere in that range. Because the paperwork was submitted and they're just kind of working through it right now. But they've been on holiday at the NCAA, so they're not necessarily been working real hard on it.
And I think you may have mentioned on Twitter or maybe on the board, but it was telling that Flanagan started out early at the point guard and Powell was playing the 2 for a while there. So maybe they're getting ready for Sharif to step in.
Right, and we talked about Jamal being so good about positioning himself without the ball on the attacking end. Maybe that's something they want JP to kind of work on because they're going to need him to have that same instinct when they do have Sharif playing point. And they need to get him in the corner to hit threes. He's got to be able to move into position.
Yeah, and he just had an off night. Even before his injury, he's 0 of 5 from the floor, 0 of 3 from 3-point, and but he's a freshman. He's going to have games like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
And BP just said, I think Canoe Man had heard on the post-game radio spot that BP said JP had he banged his head or had a concussion?
Yes.
Or
they don't know if it's a concussion. He banged his head late in the first half, played just a couple minutes in the second half. Bruce said he didn't look good or feel too good, so they brought him out and sent him back, and they're going to evaluate him once they get back. So,
all right.
If it is a concussion, then I don't remember exactly what the time is for that, but he might be out for a little while, maybe a week or so.
Yeah,
we'll see. Yeah,
it'll be tough for the Ole Miss game, but I don't know if they can win that one anyway. We'll just have to see. All right, B. Matt, we will be looking for your content on the front of auburnsports.com, bud, and appreciate you.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Be good out there.
Peace.
There he goes, Mr. Brian Matthews, a fan of Liverpool and also a writer of many things, including Auburn basketball and some football yesterday as well. Crocky, I saw you trying to call in when I didn't want to cut off B-Matt, but if you'd like to call in, please do. We had a super chat coming through during that call from the main man, Canoe Man. It says, love the drain. Thank you for doing these. Thank you, bro, for always being here for us. Basketball drains are second best next to the random/non-sports drains. Of course, they are all top-notch. Thank you, Canoe Man. We did have some weird shows during the COVID lockdown era. What was that, maybe April, May? We just talked about random stuff. Tried to really stay away from politics, but we weren't afraid to talk about hot chicks, though, which I'm always down to do. For show. Speaking of that, I had something odd happen to me today. So here in our neighborhood, the people who live across the street from us, their house is for sale. And we also have some of our friends who are looking for a home out here. And so we had asked permission from our neighbors. They were out of town, but we wanted to kind of get some pictures for our friends to show them the house. And so my wife communicated with them and said, "Oh yeah, you can go in the house and you can take whatever pictures you want." But it was really weird going into somebody else's house when they're not there. I felt uncomfortable. We were in there for probably 10 minutes just taking pictures. And I felt so uncomfortable all 10 minutes. I was like ready to leave the door. I was like, "Hey, should we leave the door open just in case someone doesn't?" I mean, we had permission, but I still felt weird being in there. I don't know. I don't want people hanging out in my house when I'm not here. Nor do I want to hang out with other people's houses when they're not there. It was unsettling. All right, V Spark says, is Cooper coming back within the year? Also, do you think he will end up playing his sophomore year? I mean, these are tough questions. I don't think there's an answer to that, V Spark. I believe that if you're asking my opinion, I think Sharif's going to get cleared in the next 2-3 games. No one's told me that. BP has not told me that. BP would not say that. He knows better. The NCAA is very weird. They're very mercurial. Sometimes their decisions make sense and sometimes they don't. It's a nonlinear world that they live in where they just randomly pick shit. I don't understand how some quarterbacks get cleared right away, like Felipe Franks and like the kid that went to West Virginia, and other guys have to sit out. And I don't understand. I swear I think they roll dice sometimes. But in my mind, trying to read the tea leaves, I thought that at the Ole Miss or Alabama games that he would be eligible and available at some point in that window. But my statement is always this: don't put the Superman cape on him yet, because as good of a player as he is, his first college game is going to be his first college game. I mean, seriously, and he's going to be overwhelmed a little bit because the speed is so much faster than he's used to, even though he's been in practice against all of his teammates who have played a lot, and they practice with a lot of tempo. BP doesn't do a lot of standing around in practice. That's all good and well. But when he gets out there, and let's say he's playing against Ole Miss or Alabama, it's going to be different. And his eyes are going to be wide, and he's going to make silly mistakes, and he's going to have to learn from them. So you got to give him 5 games, 10 games just to get acclimated. I do think that the way this is going down, it makes me think it's more likely that he would be back next year to kind of go through all the way. But it just depends on what his draft stock is. I mean, if he comes out and he his last 15 games of the season or the last 12 games of the season or whatever are really, really good, then he may end up being an NBA prospect of the kind of repute where they would want to take him in the first round and he'd be gone. So it's hard to answer those questions. I would love to see him. I'd love to see him play in the orange and blue a little bit longer, just because we wrote so much about him and everybody's so fired up to see a 5-star point guard at Auburn. So I think we'd all like to see that. And it's just so frustrating, kind of those of us who, and you guys are in this group as well, who watch so much football, and you see the obvious holes, right? It's like, what would this team have if they had 2 offensive tackles? What would this team have? What would this defense have if they had a pass rusher? Just one little thing short. And I feel like you look at this ball club right here, this basketball team, like, what would they have if they had a Jared Harper or an Ashton Hagans or somebody like that? You can go out there and give him the ball 30 minutes a game, and he's going to give you something, They don't have it right now, as AU Storm mentioned, as B-Matt mentioned. And you guys, a lot of you who are basketball folks, you know exactly what I'm talking about. AU Storm says, I feel like those of us during the COVID drains got closer and have a special bond. I feel that way too. Whenever I see somebody, chatting up who was big with us in that era, I always think a little bit more of it because it was tough, man. We were all digging out on that one. Spread Attack U18 says, one cannot give Jay enough credit during COVID. Certainly appreciate the man. Appreciate you, bro. AU Taxman says, do you think this Sharif stuff is just the NCAA unofficially punishing AU? Now, listen. If you said that to me 5 years ago, I'm just not a big conspiracy guy, no matter what it is. And I've been like, stop. But the way the NCAA operates, I'm more down on the NCAA than I've ever been in my life. And I've been hearing Ron Polk, going back to the 90s and 80s, and Ron Polk used to be the one guy out there just ragging on the NCAA constantly. And I used to think, this old dude needs to get that wax out of his ears and stop worrying about this stuff because he's probably a big cheater and he got busted for it or whatever. But now here I am, 48 years old, and I'm looking at stuff and I'm thinking, how in the world is LSU fine? How in the world is Arizona fine? Like, what's going on? How did UNC get out of what they got out of? I don't know. Ravine says, hold on, did I miss the bourbon? I'm not drinking tonight, bro. I'm trying to dry out a little bit after 2 very wet days. Well, a wet night and then a wet day. And then after last night's show, because we did a good amount of drinking, we were drinking that Whistle Pig 15 store pick. I ended up going up to the tipping point and had a little bit more. My main man, Justin O up there, was willing to share some of his Old Forester single barrel with me, which is super hot. And my first couple pulls on that was just like, whoa, you know what I mean? But I added a little bit of water to it, which I don't like doing, but I added a couple drops in there, and that turned it down a little bit for me. It was delicious. I'd have to say that was at least a 3.5 out of 4 for me on the JG Tate scale. So, AU Taxman, that is not a completely unreasonable concept that the NCAA is unofficially punishing AU. I just can't make sense out of the things that they do or don't do. The NCAA is just the definition of chaos. I don't understand what they're doing. Bryce G jumps in, who was with us yesterday, and he's been with us a bunch here in the last month or so. Appreciate you, brother, man. Says, will we ever actually know the details of the NOA? Asking for Pat 40. If I was Alan Green, I wouldn't release it. You don't have to release it. So why would you do it? There's really no benefit to releasing it. It's not going to make Auburn look any better because we know what's in there. I'm not saying word for word, but we know what the story is. We know the story is. We know what Auburn's been accused of. We know that it's various issues related to Chuck Person, D'Angelo, Austin Wiley, some other stuff. Nothing super big. I don't think there's any revelatory stuff in there, but Ravine says, so when I come through the Gump, that's where I need to go. That's where I drink at the tipping point, but it's in my neighborhood, so I can crawl home if I need to. They have a good selection of bourbons, though. Justin, who runs the show there, he's a bourbon enthusiast. He knows more about bourbon than I do, for sure. Actually, I ask him questions. When I have a question, I usually go to him. And I think he hustles to get good bourbon there. And so you can almost always find some of the good stuff. I'm not saying Blanton's is the be-all, end-all, but he's usually got Blanton's there for a pour. I had a pour last month of the birthday bourbon. Shoot. That was good. John Starnes, my main man. What's up, Starnes? Says, Old Forester, hell no. What's wrong with Old Forester, bro? There's nothing wrong with that. Man, Starnes, haven't seen you in a minute, bro. Back in the old days. Had some great student assistants at Auburn. You and the group, of course. Also the king of the Midwest, Mr. Powell, was there as well. Also front rim Felix. Barrett. Ben, who's now with the SEC. Crocosel says, JGT hung up on me to talk to BMAT. No, I was in the progress of talking to BMAT when you called. So I just didn't answer your call when I didn't cut off BMAT to talk to you. That's what happened. See, Adam says he used to hit up Leroy's all the time in Cloverdale. I'm going to tell you this, dude. I've been living here since 98. I've never been in Leroy's. I've only been down in that area a few times, though. I call that Midtown. Hey, you Storm 20, you know what I'm talking about. I would call that Midtown, and I don't go down there very often. Ravine says, what's wrong with Old Forester? The answer is not a damn thing. I don't understand. Starnes, are you just joking with me, bro? Dude, the like the color, the ones that are like blue, green, red, like the Prohibition style, the Old Fine whiskey, the bottled in bond, those are delicious. And in fact, if we end up doing the flight night, one of those, we're going to have one of those on there. Yeah, Canoe Man, I figured you would know of him at least. Just knowing as much as you do about Mr. Powell. Adam S. says, what? No, dude, I just don't go down there very much. I live way out here on the east side, bro. I live in Hampstead. I'm like way out here. So why would I ever go down there? The only reason I go down there ever is maybe twice a year to Jubilee, which is delicious, but it's a little expensive. And El Rey. But the problem with El Rey is, at this point, with the virus as it is, how many people can fit in there? 10? 12? So you're going to be in line for like an hour if you want to eat, unless it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 9 o'clock at night, which I don't want to do. So there's not much reason for me to go to Midtown, guys. We can get Christian on the horn. I mean, yeah. Nah, maybe not. I don't know. We probably have to wrap it up. We did an hour. And we went 7.5 yesterday. Bob Loblaw says Croc lost a phone face off.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Ravine says, when is flight night? I'm down. When and where? The goal is to go on the 18th of January at the tipping point. That's the goal. But I got to figure out if we can do that. Ruxy says, I need Gina. Oh, that's not her name, is it? Gina from AL.com on the horn. Her name is Gianna. And she was my point guard on my pickup game. So get off, man. Grindworks says, JJ, how many points do you think Sharif would average in a full season? 10-ish. Right, at this point. 8 to 10. And I think his assists, he'd probably have 5.5 assists per game, 2 turnovers, 2.5 turnovers a game, something like that. Blackhawk got a joke out of Gina too. You guys have got this thing for AL.com right now, and I mean, I'm not totally familiar with it. Like Gianna, to me, I don't hang out with those kids are a lot younger than me now. I mean, it's like I keep getting older, and they stay the same age, but not in a good way. We've got Stu Pup on the line, a legend of the show. What's up, bro?
How's it going, JG?
Great.
Yeah, I was calling. Right, I didn't mean to keep you from wrapping it up, so I'll be short.
I couldn't do it.
I think, I thank you for the drain again. I appreciate it. I think today was an example of what you talked about, kind of since the start of the season, how this team may not quite be up to standard, what we're used to the last 2 or 3 years, but tonight was fun. I kind of hated that we lost, but that second half was entertaining at least. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I think that was my big take. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was entertaining for sure, and I mean that's the thing. They're fighting. They don't just lay around and just give up. They fight every single minute, and they're just like a young little dog that just scratches and claws all the time. I think that's the way I look at them.
Yeah, puppies growing into their paws is kind of how I've heard it described.
Well said.
No, and I think you too. I mean, it's like and this is no shot at Flanny or JP, But this is like a good football team with a wide receiver playing quarterback right now, and so that obvious hole there at the main ball handling position is making it harder than it should be. But I definitely think like the second half this team needs to look a little more like Bruce Pearl's Tennessee teams, I think, than his Auburn vintage, where the game is ugly. I'd like to see him do a little more of that 1-3-1, especially early, to maybe kind of keep Jalen out of foul trouble a little bit, because, and I can't think of the guy's name. He's that shorter power forward we had on the first tournament team with Mustafa in them. And that's who Jalen kind of reminds me of.
Deshaun Murray?
What was his name? Yeah, Deshaun Murray. Like, in the sense of, like, when Deshaun got the ball in the middle of the floor, the ball tended to go to the right spot.
Yeah.
And I think Jalen, he's learning to do that. I don't think Jalen is going to be this team's leading scorer or needs to be, but he can be that point forward, get it in the middle of a zone type guy. When the ball gets his hands and he can make the right pass and the ball doesn't stop, which was kind of I did get a little rustled in the first half with some of the over dribbling and things, but the second half, I'd like to see more of that 1-3-1, because Thor out front of that is just unfair, and just make it ugly and make it look a little more like his Tennessee teams. And I think we'll do better than 3 wins per Ken Palm. That's for doggone sure.
Yeah.
I don't know we're gonna get to 10 like I thought at the start of the year, but again, that's all that you can't really make a determination on that, because you don't know who's playing week to week with the virus the way it is and things, that sort of thing. So it's hard to just play hard as you can and count them up at the end of the year.
Yeah, I would do that too. I bet you he's going to make some adjustments to their tempo and stuff. I do, but they're great in transition in general. Maybe if Allen's not the one dribbling, let him finish in transition.
Yeah, Allen. He over dribbles at the point, but he is one thing he can do. He does not necessarily need a pick at the top to get to the rack, kind of like Harper. Harper and he's blanking on me. Last year's point guard needed that screen to get around people. Yeah, him and Javon, they were quick. That's what they did. I think Allen's that's definitely more of a bully and uses that body. He has a body to use versus those two where they had to use more speed. But yeah, I think they're fun to watch, and I think that's the big takeaway. It's a little frustrating to have lost, a winnable game against Arkansas, have a bowl debacle, hear about Tank, and then lose a winnable basketball game. That's kind of a rough 4 or 5 days being off.
Yeah, AU Taxman was wanting to know what your thoughts are on Tank possibly leaving.
I kind of went the irrational route yesterday. I think I'm scared to death of it, because here's my thing, and I'm not knocking anybody. I just think with the way there's going to be a lot of pressure on Harsin, I think, to win early. Not necessarily from the Auburn people. There is that. There's pressure on this whole program to at least win a game, win something next year. Not necessarily a championship, but like beat Georgia or beat LSU again, and win maybe 9 games, that sort of thing. And I don't think this team can do that without Tank. And that's scary to me, because then that starts the backbiting that we saw, and it's the mess that we have. It's not just Tank leaving versus start your program. I understand that. I think Harsin can be an incredible success at Auburn, but I really think to do that, he needs to get off to a good start. And Tank being there is what's going to help necessitate that start. That's why I called in yesterday and called it a disaster. It's not that I'm bashing Harsin. I like the guy. I think he's good. I mean, he wears blue pants with the blue striped shirt, unlike any other coach we have. That he's a sharp dresser to me, so that already sparks one good thing for me. He knows what he's doing, obviously, I think, as a coach, and he's got 70-something wins. I mean, he's a good hire, but coming in outside the footprint, we don't exactly know who the staff is. Yeah, you don't want to fight uphill. That was the term they kept using today on the basketball game on the SEC Network, and I kind of like that term of Harsin. Without Tank, you start fighting uphill. It's a steeper uphill than it would be with Tank.
Yes, I agree. He's got to keep Tank. I believe that. He can be fine without him, but I think he'd be better with him. And I think it's doable.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, yeah.
It's doable.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry?
I think it's doable. I don't think this is a done deal, but we'll see how it works out.
Have you heard I've heard some rumors about there's more than one school that is mad at Georgia right now. LSU has come to mind. There's some Twitteration about tampering with Georgia. Have you heard that? Is that something that's percolating around?
Are you talking about?
Gonna do anything about
you
it?
talking about specifically Eric Gilbert?
Yes, and Tank. I mean, now that could be just Auburn people, making a leap, which is a lot of fun. I enjoy making irrational leaps. But, no, Eric Gilbert definitely, and then you've got Tank. I mean, is that something that's got any legs at all?
Not that I've heard yet, no, but I wouldn't necessarily. The COVID has taken me. I'm not able to go to Auburn and walk around and talk to people the way that I used to, and that would allow me to hear a lot more stuff. So I wouldn't necessarily have been hearing that kind of intel. But I'll see if I can check in on it, see if anybody's been hearing that.
Yeah, I'm just curious about that because that has kind of gained some traction the last couple of days. And if they're mellowed on Gilbert, and we are going to go into basically a free agency period in college football.
Yes.
It would not be surprised. I think that's going to be your next realm of scandal is the tampering. So that'd be, and I wouldn't put it past Kirby. He's not Nick Saban. He's not above board like him, and that's why I think the seat on him is going to get a little bit hotter than people think it is after next year if they don't do something there. But
I tend to agree with you.
But yes. Well, I'm gonna let you wrap it up, Jay. I didn't mean to go this long tonight.
We love having you, bro.
For me. Hey, I love the drain, Jay. Like I said, I think I can echo everybody, dude. It was honestly, I went through. I had 4 different jobs this year on the thing. There was some uncertainty there for a minute with a lot of things. This was something that really helped keep me sane through the process. And get back to the normal footing that I'm at now. Good Lord bless me in a lot of ways. But this 2020 was a nightmare for a lot of people, and this has definitely been a lifeline for me. Just to have some enjoyment. So thank you for it. Not to put the Superman cape on you or anything, but I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody chatting in there and calling in. It's been a great source of entertainment for me. So thank you, Jay.
All right, Stu Pup. Appreciate you, brother, man.
All right, we'll see you, man. Talk
see you,
later.
bro. Bye. There he goes, Stu Pup. Adam S. says Stu Pup is the man. I think so. I didn't realize that. I guess I hadn't paid attention to that one. The trials and tribulations that he had been going through. I mean, I knew because I'm Facebook friends with him too, but I hadn't noticed that much. I didn't know it was 4. That's a lot. I'm glad to hear that. Getting things going. Bob says Saban above board. Yeah. He doesn't have to do much shadiness, man. It's really rare that I hear anything like that about Alabama these days. Now, 15 years ago, different story. Oregon 19 says, "Where's Sharif? He's with the team." Ravine says, "JG, how would you rate our fundamentals versus the top basketball programs? Sorry, I missed another game due to work." Oh, no problem, bro. I mean, good. Yeah, good. I mean, I just on par. I feel like at this point, Kentucky is in a slump right now, the likes of which they have not seen in almost 100 years. So sometimes, I think Auburn's problems are different than Kentucky. Kentucky's problem is that they have too many one and dones and not enough team dudes, like program dudes. Auburn he has the program dudes. He just happened to be flushing, he had a bunch of older dudes that kind of disappeared all at once. But he's not going out and trying to sign a bunch of one and dones. He just had to get some new dudes in the system. And you look at this roster over here on the right. I mean, Cardwell's going to be a 3 or 4 year guy. Cambridge is going to be a 3 or 4 year guy. JP's going to be a 2 or 3 year guy, I think. Jalen's going to be a 3 year guy. Flanagan's already a 1.5 years in. I think he might be a 4 year guy or maybe a 3 year guy. We'll just have to see. I don't know what to think about Akingbola right now. He's a remarkably athletic player, and he blows me away with how quick he is. But he also just struggling to kind of understand where he needs to position himself. JT is coming. I feel like he took a step forward today, but I still think he's going to be a 2 year guy, 3 year guy. Chris Moore is probably a 3-year guy. Franklin's probably going to be gone. Sharif's probably he's more of a one-and-done guy in a perfect world. He'd be playing already and probably playing at a high level, and then Jamal's a good glue guy. So, I mean, you see his roster's built the right way. Just Kentucky doesn't really have those dudes. They don't have the Jamal Johnsons. They don't have the Akingbolas. They don't have the Al Flanagans. They just don't have those kinds of players right now. So, I mean, I know Kentucky's not the be-all, end-all, and in fact, Auburn, I think, might have broken Kentucky by beating them in that regional final in 19, honestly, because they've been pretty much dog shit ever since then. But, they've been playing at a high level for a while, so they're worth looking at. Canoe Man says, random question, is the resolution higher today by chance? I don't think so, but I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so, though. Another good question. Grindwork says, JG, how long do you think Bruce Pearl stays at Auburn? I would say, without one hint of concern, he's going to retire at Auburn. He likes money as much as anybody. I mean, and he loves playing on a big stage, but he's shown that he can do it here. They pay him well. Alan Green has supported him as much or more than any administrator has ever supported him, and sometimes it was really tough to do. And I just think BP's got what he needs here. He's got a nice practice facility. He's got great recruiting. They give him plenty of money for assistants. They give him plenty of money. He's got a great stadium. He's in a good league that's really come up a long way. And I just think at 60 years old right now, he's where he's going to be. And I think he'll go down in history as the greatest coach that Auburn basketball's ever had. I mean, Sonny Smith is probably that guy right now. Joel Leaves was good too. But I think BP can be the number one guy. I mean, Sonny Smith's a Hall of Famer, of course. The pride of Roan Mountain. One of the best players ever to come out of Roan Mountain. That's what I love telling him when I see him. Haven't seen him in a while, though. Warrior 19 says, is it true no more Kevin Steele? I don't want to say anything official, but he's not going to be coaching here. AU Storm 20 says Coach Stephen Pearl is going to be the next coach in 7 years. I would be good with that. I like Stephen. I just think, I don't know that we talk about this enough, but Auburn's coaching staff is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, it's, you think about Wes is a stud, Ira's a stud, Coach Stephen Pearl's a stud, then you got like Chad's a stud, Burgo's a stud. I mean, and they've always got like a couple like GAs that are really good that end up going somewhere. Like Todd Golden, he wasn't a GA, he was like the last guy on the bench, but Todd Golden has gone to University of San Francisco, and I mean they're like decent now. Like San Francisco's been shitty for like generations, and he shows up there, and they're causing all kinds of trouble in their league. So Todd Golden, BP just knows young coaches. He's just good at he knows what good coaches look like. AU Taxman with a good joke on Sonny Smith. Sonny saying he always says he failed math in 3 states. Warrior 19 says, what? He's a good DC. Yeah, but I just think it's time for him to probably move on. I'm not ragging on Kevin Steele's competence at all. I think a lot of him, and I think he's done some great work at Auburn, but I think it's just time to move on. I think if Stephen Pearl ends up being head coach material, I think that'd be great for them to keep him if it comes to that, but it's going to be a little while. I mean, BP ain't close. He ain't close to wrapping this thing up. He's still full on BP. Got a lot of energy, got a lot of passion for getting this program back to the Final Four and having it finish the way we all want it to finish, getting up there instead of getting screwed out of a double dribble. Just saying. We all know he double dribbled too. Samuel, what are you upset about? I can't tell what you're mad about. Let's see. Canoe Man says, hopefully BP retires here and becomes the next Sonny Smith. That would be great to have him on the air. He'd be great at that, wouldn't he? See, Mobile says, has Bruce had any staff leave? Yeah, he's had some. He had Tony, I forgot Tony's last name, was on his first staff, and he ended up leaving. And then, of course, Todd Golden left. I think he went to be an assistant at San Francisco, and then now he's the head coach at San Francisco. But, I mean, he was moving up because Todd was the last guy on the bench when he was here, and then he moved up to a right-hand man kind of guy. Tony Jones, thanks, AU Storm 20. That was who I was talking about. I don't know as though anybody else has left because remember Steven was like he was an off the court guy in the beginning, and I'm guessing he moved in when Todd left. Maybe it was when Tony left. I can't remember. And I think the next one, you're going to be surprised, I think, by Chad Pruitt. I think he's going to end up going from where he is to, like, he's going to be a head coach somewhere. It's not going to be big, but, it's not going to be like Notre Dame or anything, but he came mighty close to getting a good job last year. So, Christopher Hall says he's an Auburn fan from Edmond, Oklahoma, former home of David Oku, I believe, or one-time home of David Oku. Played at Edmond there. And I believe my high school, Holland Hall, won their first state title about 3 weeks ago in Edmond. I think that's where the game was played. Michael P. says, San Fran hasn't been good since the Bill Cartwright days. Yeah, it's been like that long ago, Head coach or influencer like Maddie. Talking about Maddie Pruitt, who's a very, very big social media phenomenon, in addition to being kind of a TV star, too. Pocket Watch says, Tony Jones didn't lead by his choice exactly, LOL. I'm not really going to go in deep into detail, but I'm with you on that. Yeah. Mobile alum 1991 says, are you concerned about this year's team? If you're asking me, no. And I would also defer to the folks here that are really into basketball, which we've got a lot in the chat. I had a feeling this is going to be rough. In fact, we were talking about this before the season where people were like, well, we're going to go back and challenge for a title. And I was like, whoa, hold on, guys. I don't think this team's got what you're looking for here. Not quite yet. And I wasn't alone. There were other people that thought the same thing, but I was definitely tamping down expectations because I didn't think they had it. And even the people that thought Auburn was going to be really pretty good this year, they were putting a lot of expectations on Devin Cambridge to be like a true number one. And I was like, I don't know. And I kept hearing, he's been great in practice. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. Practice. We're not even talking about a game, an actual game where it matters. We're talking about practice, man. Caddy Wuppets jumps in, says, just says, dues. Don't tell Hooter 80, man. He'd get mad at you. Appreciate you, Caddy. Let me give you one of these, bro. I don't want to make that too loud, though. I need a few more sound effects. We're going to work on that. So I'm not concerned about it, Mobile. I think they're digging out. They're very young, exceptionally young. You could see that roster on the right there. Javon Franklin is like the oldest player on the team, and he barely plays. And then Jamal's right there, They're super young. They don't have their best player or the most explosive player in Sharif. And Mobile asked a great question. Will Reef make a huge difference when he plays again? He is definitely – he's on par with the guys you're looking at right now. He's not going to be worse than JP. He's not going to be worse than JT Thor. He's going to be – I'm not going to say he's an All-American right out of the gate, but he's going to be helpful. Yes, he's extremely quick off the dribble. And the reports that I've been getting out of practice is that he's been shooting better because I didn't really think of him as a shooter coming up. He's more of a transition guy, ball handler guy, drive to the cup kind of guy. More like a Chris Denson type of game. But it sounds like he's been shooting a lot better. And also remember that Mustafa, when he signed with Auburn, was known as a defensive stopper, not as a shooter. And sure enough, he gets here and BP works with him and, the whole crew works with him. And he turned out to be a terrific three-point shooter. So, yeah, Canoe Man says, Michael P. says Reef shooting threes from the logo. Yeah, we saw that on social media 3 days ago that he was hitting threes from really deep. So, if he adds that part to his game, he may not be here that long. Because that was the one spot I was wondering. Yeah, I wasn't thinking that he would have that. Let's see, William Taylor says, did that loss yesterday count on Steele's stellar head coach record? I would be thinking that it would, right? That's how it works at Duke. When your team sucks like you did in 1994, and you say, oh, my back hurts, got to go home, see ya. They put all those losses on Pete Gaudette, so they might as well do that now. You talking about practice, man? We're not even talking about the game, the actual game when it matters. See, Mobile alum says, thoughts on our 2 coming in next year. Really excited about what I've heard. Yeah, so it's a shooting guard in Trey Alexander. Really, really good player. Can play wing too if he had to, but he's not super long. Shooter and just super quick. And then you've got Jabari coming in. Just Jabari in some systems will be a 5. I think he's more of a 4 here. He's not hulking beast of a player, but he's just super fast and long and bouncy and just gnarly like that, and a smart kid too. So he's going to be a first-day starter for Auburn. Although technically, I was there on the first day Anthony Davis played at Kentucky, and he wasn't a starter, but you know what I mean. He's going to be a frontline player next year. As somebody who gets 25, 30 minutes a game, and I think Trey will be as well. So those are two really good players. Michael P. says JGT are Browns winning tomorrow to get into the playoffs. I think they got to play the Ravens, right? And I think the Ravens are down some people, so maybe that's going to be a good thing. Normally, no, I don't think we would beat the Ravens because they're going to shit the bed. I'm so frustrated that the Browns are even in this position. It's just they've had a couple really bad games. Horrendous. I don't even know if I can watch, to be honest with you, Michael. I'm just so disheartened by it all. Canoe Man says, think about Bryce's progression while here. Basically the opposite of our QB development under Gus. Yeah, Bryce was one that I thought he was just kind of done because he went his first 2 years and I didn't really see a lot of improvement because he was so emotional and he would get in a slump and it was just over. You'd see him on the sideline just like, he's like mad at himself. And I was there actually at practice about midway. It was like maybe December of his junior year. I think it was. I'm getting the years mixed up. Maybe it was a sophomore year. I can't remember. I don't know. Whenever it was like December. And he and BP would go at it because he would just get weird in practice. Like, because BP lets us go to practice when it's not COVID. You can sit there and watch. I can sit on the baseline and watch everything. And he crawls Bryce's ass. I mean, he had to because Bryce was just kind of like nonchalant about some things. Well, finally, BP had just absolutely had enough. And he gave Bryce the ass reaming of a lifetime. I'm talking like stuff that even Rodney would be like, easy, guys. I mean, he called him every name in the book. Words I wouldn't repeat. And he said, basically, the message was, I'm tired of you being a wuss, and you need to sack up and basically be a man about it. And everybody out here is embarrassed by you always whining about stuff, and you need to stop being, where it went from there. And I swear it was like the next game. It just clicked for him. It was like finally like the words went in the ears, and he finally processed it and said, you know what? All this stuff that's going on, nobody wants to hear my excuses anymore. I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to bust ass every game. And it was like all of a sudden Bryce was really good. He went from a good player to, one of the all-time greats at Auburn. And I really think it was that one ass chewing. AU Taxman asks, have the Browns made the playoffs since the Ernest Biner era? It's close to that. I want to say, and Michael P. might remember it, I'm saying it was like maybe early 90s, yeah. Now, I've only been a Browns fan for like 4 years now or 5 years. I just didn't really have a team in the NFL, and I was like, I might as well take the Browns. They were horrendous. They were like the winless team at the time. Goose Flat says, JGT, if you remember the Final Four team, it reminds me of this team as freshmen and sophomores. The future is definitely bright in basketball here. Yeah. It's a little, yeah. Because Al, I guess, is kind of in that Mustafa role. But Jared is a little different than JP because Jared always had the big balls, right? Like JP, sometimes I feel like his body language is kind of like mushy kind of. But Jared always had big balls. Like he didn't care. Like Jared, the guy that he is today, he had that same attitude the first day I met him. He just comes out there and acts like he owns the court, which it's good to see. I don't know if JP's quite like that, but so they're lacking that. I bet you if they had Sharif out there, then you really would have almost a mirror image. Canoe Man was, I guess you were there. I might have heard some of that. BP would tear into Bryce. Man. I mean, that particular confrontation was really something to hear. It was like, damn. Because he was Bryce was sitting on the, like where the scores table is in practice. And he was doing his little, he would do. Yeah, he was getting schooled, I think that at that time by Samir in practice or whatever. Because Samir was killing those guys when he was in the transfer year where he was waiting. And he had just gotten here. he was killing those guys in practice. I mean, just embarrassing them and doing that stuff. And then BP just stopped practice and just berated him for like 90 seconds straight, right in his face. Nothing else is going on in the gym except BP berating Bryce. It's just, I just felt bad for him. But he turned it around. I better write that out on the bunker. Somebody's going to get mad and be like, I'm dropping nuggets, man. All right, I'll probably wrap it up there, guys. It was a good show, man. I appreciate it. I know I've been kind of ranting here for the last few minutes, but this, that's kind of what we do. Canoe Man says Jared had Tommy Tuberville-esque brass balls. Tommy, yeah, I did kind of, didn't he? I do want to thank our callers. Just trying to think of Stoop Up called in. My main man, AU Storm, called in. B-Matt for taking time out of y'all's days to hang out. Of course, we've had many of our awesome luminaries in the chat today, including Canoe Man, Pocket Watch, AU Storm 20 earlier mentioned. Sam H jumped in here a little bit. Chip's been here. He was our first commenter today. Ravine, awesome to have him here. Starnes makes a visit. We're stoked to see him in here. Crawdaddy here as well. Said earlier, I'm sorry I missed this. Said, heard a rumor that if Cadillac leaves, Tank will bounce. I'd say that would increase the likelihood, although I don't think that he's going to be here. I don't think Carnell's staying. Blackhawk Driver here. Spread Attack U18. Appreciate you guys. V Spark had some great questions earlier. Bob's been asking some weird questions, but I still love you, bro. Glad you're here. Daniel P. Ben H. Stoop Up, of course. Ben B. jumping in early with a super chat. Appreciate you, bro. Had a good group today. Stefan. BP4AU. Asked earlier, so are we getting Sharif back for show? No, that's just kind of my opinion. We'll have to see what happens. I just feel like it's setting up that way. Mobile Alum says news on Harsin as he talked to Tank. I can't quite get that deep in the weeds with him yet. I don't know him well enough. All right, guys, so we'll wrap it up there. We're going to go back. Let's see. Our next show should be Wednesday. Oh, Ravine jumping in late with a super chat. How about that, huh? Damn. Ravine says, few things are constant, but JG killing it on the drain is something we can all count on. Appreciate you, Ravine. A one-time caller, Ravine, by the way. Although your proxy called in once as well, so that's probably, that would count as two, I think. Yeah, we'll count that as two. Canoeman thinks John Starnes is a legend. I don't know about that, but he's a pretty cool dude. No doubt about it. He's a pleasure to work around. All right, so our next scheduled show is going to be Wednesday night after the Ole Miss game, which is an 8 o'clock tip. So if you guys are not going to stay up for that one, I get it. But I'm going to be here. And I don't know if there's some like crazy hires that go down with Harsin or if there's some big news one way or another. We might jump in on the football tip and see what's going on. I mean, if it's like some crazy stuff going on with Avalos and they get him or they don't get him, maybe we should do that. But the next scheduled brain drain is going to be for the Ole Miss game on the 6th. That's Wednesday night. It's, again, 8 o'clock tip Central Time. You guys in the Eastern Time Zone. Wow, it's going to be really late. So you guys, let's see. Saturday night, 6 o'clock in the Central Time Zone. I'm going to probably hang out with my wifey tonight and kick it. I encourage you guys to make great decisions out there and to have fun and enjoy your lives, but at the same time, let's live to fight another day, live to punt, as Coach Ensminger would tell us. And long live Cobra Kai. Michael P. says, I cannot wait to be watching that next season. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm going to be watching it soon. All right, guys. Peace out. Let's make great decisions out there. Big love to all of my the callers tonight, all the super chatters. Peace. See ya.